History has recorded the names of arrogant kings who tore down empires. But time will never forget the woman who plunged one of those kings' heads into a vessel of blood. This was the most brutal tale of vengeance ever written in the heart of the steppe, back in the 6th century BC. In those days, the borders of the known world trembled before a single ruler. Cyrus the Great, king of Persia, an unstoppable, undefeated conqueror. He had shattered Babylon, erased Lydia from the map, and now he set his eyes on the north. But in the north, there lived a free people with no palaces and no walls, the Scythians. And at their helm stood Queen Tomris, ruling the steppe with absolute justice. To swallow these nomadic people without a fight, Cyrus sent a cunning envoy. His offer was simple: marry me, and surrender your lands without a war. Tomris Beg immediately saw through the arrogant intent behind this trap, and she gave the envoy a chilling reply: rule your own people and stay away from our lands. Having never faced rejection in his entire life, Cyrus was consumed with rage. He gathered the largest army the world had ever seen and marched toward the Araxes River. For the wolves of the steppe, the hunting season had officially begun. Queen Tomris did not confront the massive Persian army directly. She drew them deep inside. The Persian soldiers marched for days, yet they found no enemy to fight in the vast emptiness. Cyrus knew this nomadic tactic all too well and prepared a countermove. On the battlefield, he intentionally left behind a luxurious camp filled with food and wine. Spargapises, the young and inexperienced son of Tomris, rushed into this empty camp. Wine was unknown in the steppe culture. The Scythians fell for the allure of this sweet drink. Within a few hours, the entire vanguard unit passed out, completely intoxicated by their supposed victory. At midnight, the Persian army, which had been waiting in ambush, silently returned to the camp. Caught in their sleep, the Scythian warriors were ruthlessly slaughtered. The queen's only son, Spargapises, was taken prisoner in heavy iron chains. Cyrus intended to use this royal captive as a leverage to force Tomris to her knees. However, the young prince refused to live with the shame of falling for such a trick. He overpowered his guards, took his own life with his blade, and chose death over captivity. When the dark news reached the queen of the steppe, time stood completely still. The greatest agony a mother could ever endure transformed into cold, terrifying fury within seconds. Tomris Beg untied her hair, drew her sword, and cried out toward the heavens. Bloodthirsty Cyrus, you took my son from me not by honorable warfare, but by a sinister trick. I swear by the sun, I will satisfy your endless thirst for blood. Diplomacy was over. The brutal wheels of steppe vengeance had begun to turn. Tomris sent messengers to all Scythian clans, summoning everyone who could hold a weapon. Women, men, and the elderly all mounted their horses for their queen's revenge. The Persian army marched forward, proud of the small, deceptive victory they had won. But facing them now was no longer just an army. It was a mother driven mad by grief. The two armies faced each other in a deadly silence in the middle of the boundless steppe. The sun turned deep blood red, ready to witness the most violent clash of the ancient world. When the war horns blew, the earth itself shook to its core. The Persian heavy infantry, the immovable immortals, stepped forward like an impenetrable wall. Against them were thousands of Scythian horse riders, moving as fast as the wind. The first assault began with a massive hail of arrows that blotted out the sky in darkness. Arrows fired from the famous Scythian composite bows pierced straight through the Persian armor. Cyrus ordered his army to advance, but the steppe was no ordinary battlefield. Scythian riders struck the enemy swiftly, and then retreated in a sudden frenzy. The Persian generals broke their solid lines to pursue the retreating nomads. This was exactly the fatal mistake Queen Tomris had been waiting for. Opening up to the left and right, the Scythian wings trapped the disorganized Persian army in a deadly embrace. The crescent formation locked tightly around the massive forces of the world's largest empire. As the circle closed, the horse archers drew their close combat weapons. The Scythians began slicing through the Persian ranks with their legendary double-bladed battle axes. The battlefield instantly turned into a chaotic arena of pure slaughter and panic. In the words of Herodotus, this was the most brutal battle ever fought by barbarians. Queen Tomris was at the absolute front line, fighting like a fierce tigress. She cut down every Persian soldier in her path with an unstoppable fire of revenge. The numerical superiority of the Persians completely melted away against the fluid tactics of the steppe. Heavy Persian war chariots sank helplessly into the muddy, uneven terrain. With nowhere left to run, the terrified Persian soldiers trampled one another in total panic. As the sun neared the horizon, the supposedly undefeated Persian army was shattered to pieces. Cyrus's personal guards fell one by one, and the circle around the conqueror tightened. For the first time in his life, Cyrus the Great felt the freezing breath of absolute defeat. A Scythian spear pierced his royal armor, throwing the conqueror off his horse into the dirt. The man who ruled half the world was now covered in the dust of the steppe. As the Persian banners fell face down into the mud, the roar of battle faded into silence. The Scythians filled the sky with victorious shouts that echoed across the plains. Yet, for Tomris Beg, the war was not over until she found Cyrus. Torches were lit, and the queen began searching for her enemy among the mountain of corpses. Finally, the lifeless body of Cyrus the Great, gleaming in his golden armor, was found. Tomris Beg looked down at her enemy's corpse with eyes full of hatred and ultimate triumph. She ordered her warriors to fill a large leather container to the brim with human blood. The end of the man who drowned the world in blood had to be written in blood. Tomris drew her blade and separated Cyrus's head from his body with one swift blow. She lifted the severed head of the arrogant king high into the air by his hair. And with her own hands, she hurled it directly into that vessel of blood. Every single warrior on the battlefield held their breath, watching their queen in absolute awe. Standing tall over the vessel, Tomris Beg cried out her final words to the dead king. Even though I am alive and have won the battle, you have ruined me. You took my son from me with a sinister hile, catching him in his sleep. But I told you, Cyrus, you are a monster whose hunger for power can never be satisfied. Now I fulfill my vow. You bloodthirsty beast, I satisfy your thirst with blood. As Cyrus's head sank into the dark blood, the heavy grief in Tomris's eyes finally eased. A mother's vengeance had left the greatest empire of the ancient world completely leaderless. The few surviving Persian soldiers fled into the dark horizon without ever looking back. This victory proved how deadly the nomadic tribes could be when united as one. Tomris Beg did not just avenge her son, she secured the freedom of her entire nation. Cyrus the Great had ruled the world by blood. His end was met by blood. The Scythians united behind their queen, remaining the undisputed masters of the steppe. The echoes of this battle were felt across the ancient world, from Babylon to Rome. Historians wrote about this warrior woman of the steppe and her immovable will for centuries. She showed the world that women could lead not just in palaces, but on the deadliest battlefields. Even today, when the steppe wind blows, the solemn vow of Tomris is still whispered. No matter how great of a ruler you are, never underestimate the wrath of a mother defending her home. For those who attempt to hunt the lions of the steppe will ultimately become the prey. Tomris Beg engraved her name in golden letters upon the most glorious page of history, and her story became a timeless symbol of justice and ultimate vengeance. Remember, true power does not lie in palaces, it lies in the unshakable will of the righteous. Written in blood and sand, this epic will continue to be told as long as the steppe exists. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video so you don't miss our next cinematic history documentary.